Hey there, welcome back to Stay at Home Sportsnet. Just like last time, my name is Nick, and let's just get on into it. So, this past weekend, I kind of became a fan of a new sport, and that sport is field lacrosse. To be completely honest, I have been watching box lacrosse for the past 4 or 5 seasons now, and I've been a big fan of that, so I don't know why I haven't given field lacrosse a chance, but I think I'm sold. I'm probably going to finish out watching the rest of the games of this season, and then I'll pick it up next season and I'll just run with it because boy howdy was this an entertaining sport to watch. For those of you unfamiliar, the Field Lacrosse League is the PLL, Premier Lacrosse League. It is an 8-team league, and instead of having a more traditional North American model where teams travel to each other to play, right now the PLL has a touring model. So every week they're in a different city. All 8 teams travel together. They have a 10-week season, so each team takes a weekend hosting. Then they have two neutral site game or weekends. This past weekend was in Utah, so the Utah Archers were the hosting team. So they had 2 games, everybody else had one, and the Boston Cannons had a bye week to make up for that second game that the Archers were going to be playing. So, admittedly, I'm still not an expert on these rules, so I'm not going to be doing a full rundown of all of these games from this past weekend, but I have notes right here, just like last time, of the moments in these games that got me hooked as a fan and what brought me in. So let's just hop on into the first game. We have the California Redwoods versus the Utah Archers to open the weekend on Friday. Nothing really stuck out to me about this game. The Archers got out to a 5-2 lead, but the Redwoods very quickly came back to keep it a very close game throughout the entire time, and the final score ended up being 9-8. Redwoods beat the Archers. So not looking good for the Archers. Their first game of their hosting weekend. Also, they had just unveiled their championship banner because the Archers won last season and they lost the first game. So, yikes. The second game on Friday had more of an impact on drawing me in as a fan, and that was the Maryland Whipsnakes versus the New York Atlas. Right off the face-off, the Whipsnakes win and they take it down and they score a goal. Right off the second face-off, the Whipsnakes get the ball, run it down, and score. Sorry, I almost said puck because I'm a big hockey fan, so face-offs and pucks just naturally, but ball. They won the face-off, took the ball down the field, score a goal. They scored 2 goals in the first 31 seconds of the game, and I thought this was going to be a bloodbath, and the Atlas were going to be, you know, out tails between their legs. Nope. The Atlas actually turned it on them, and by halftime, the Atlas were up 8-4. So they scored twice in the first 32 seconds, did the Whipsnakes, and then only scored 2 more times in the rest of the half. Something that did happen in the second quarter that really, I was like, whoa, that's wild. The goalie for the Atlas, Liam Entenmann, decided he was going to catch the ball and run with it. He starts taking off down the field right around the center field line. He gets tripped up, gets up, kept possession of the ball, starts running again, and right as it looked like he was about to shoot to try to score a goal, he gets laid out by one of the defenders. That also, so he ended up drawing 2 penalties on that play, one for the trip back at center field and one because that hit was pretty high up on the head. So that was kind of crazy. That was something that I was like, I think I can roll with this. So at the end of that game, Atlas won 11-8. They also clinched a playoff spot for this year, and they qualified for the championship tournament that they do before the season starts. So the Atlas will be in both of them. The next game was the Philadelphia Water Dogs versus the Carolina Chaos. This game was very tight right from the beginning. Pretty much a one possession game all the way through until about halfway through the fourth quarter. The Chaos started to pull away, and the Philadelphia Water Dogs said, not so fast. They scored two back-to-back two-pointers to tie it up. They both ended up scoring another goal, tying it at 14, and that led to overtime, which is the same as like box lacrosse and hockey, sudden death overtime. The Chaos ended up scoring. They won the game 15-4. I liked the tension in that overtime, though. This is the game that I was really waiting for. This next one that I'm going to talk about was the Denver Outlaws versus the Utah Archers. So the Archers' second game for being the host city this time. This one actually did a lot as to me really deciding, hey, I think I'm going to start watching lacrosse on a regular basis. So at the end of the first quarter, the guy's running down the field, whistle blows, he shoots the ball at Brett Dobson, the goalie for the Archers. The Archers took exception to that. Almost immediately, he was swarmed by about three guys. They were grabbing his face mask, pushing him around and everything. I thought that was pretty funny because that's something you learn in hockey. You don't mess with the goalie. In the second quarter, Brett Dobson actually ends up getting a penalty himself for unsportsmanlike conduct because he threw the ball at one of the Outlaw players. But on that same play, there was another penalty for the Archers. So I believe that actually ended up leading to them being down on a 6-on-4, giving the Outlaws a power play, a two-man power play. I don't believe anything ended up coming of that, though. I mean, not there. The final score was 15-10. The Outlaws handed the Archers their second loss during their hosting weekend, which I thought was pretty interesting. And the Outlaws also clinched a playoff spot and a spot in the championship tournament at the beginning of next season. Next week, we actually have a matchup between the Outlaws and the Atlas, who both have a 6-2 record. They're tied for the best teams in the league. So just from me watching casually over this entire season, I think this could actually end up being a preview of what the championship match this year is. I could be mistaken because, again, just a casual fan, but that's what I'm going with. I'm going Outlaws, Atlas. I think this game is going to decide, well, it will decide who's going to be the best team in the league. But I really think this could end up being the championship matchup just from watching casually. The one thing, actually, you know what? Just like last time, hope you enjoyed this video. I forget what I was going to say. That's why I just cut to a closeout. All right, I will see you guys next time. Hopefully you found this as interesting as the last one. See you later.